Hello, Smart Chiropractors, and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, enable those notifications. We're here each and every Tuesday talking about clinical topics, business topics, and much, much more. Today we have an awesome show lined up for you. Jason, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday?
I'm doing great. Mid-April, here we go. It's the spring has sprung, and a lot of fertile ideas coming. And it's the first sort of, second quarter now, so it's still the beginning of the year. Great time to plant some seeds of good ideas and really watch them sprout over the spring, summer, fall time. Get ready for the winter. I'm doing great. I'm excited for a terrific show. Lots of exciting things. So thank you for being here and tuning in each and every Tuesday with us.
Well, let's get started with our Mindset Mentor segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Smart Chiropractor Show, it is our Mindset Mentor segment where we talk about getting things right upstairs so that you can execute and get things done in your practice. Jason, I know you showed me the topic of today before we got started here. We're going to be talking about building good habits and breaking bad ones with a fantastic book by James Clear. What have you learned about atomic habits and building great habits for the long term?
Well, you'd think it was easy. Everybody sort of goes, oh, habits. I know all about habits. You kidding? I teach people about habits. And you probably do. If you're a chiropractor, you teach people about their lifestyle habits and their choices and the consequences of the things they decide to do and the consequences of the things they don't decide to do. But every once in a while, it's not a bad idea, maybe even a good idea to, hold the mirror up and see how we are doing in that conversation. Recently, a good friend of mine, in fact, my financial advisor and college buddy and one of my closest friends, sent me this book, Atomic Habits, as we were talking about life and what's going on and how to keep improving and investing, not just financially, but investing our time, our energy, our focus, our mindset on building the habits that are going to create the results that we all want. You know this intellectually, but sometimes we don't always practice what we preach. And so, as Jeff said, the mindset mentorship segment we kick off every week is really because, the philosophy is that we will get into the tactics, the things to do, in fact, habits to create for yourself. But the truth is, and the reality is that everybody tends to get slightly different results, even though they're following the same game plan. You know this. You've got all kinds of people that come into your practice. You provide care, and some respond incredibly, some, pretty good, and some not so much. And the reality is the difference isn't necessarily you. You're the same chiropractor. The difference oftentimes is them and their lifestyle, them and their mindset. So mindset matters. Who you are determines how well what you do works. Think about that for a moment. So let's play upstairs for a little while, what our mindset says. And a couple of the takeaways I've got from reading this book and going through it, watching some videos and so on. Jeff, I sent you some pictures just to sort of get some graphics along the way. But let me start off with kind of concept number one or takeaway number one that I got. James Clear, the author of the book, basically starts off by talking about the difference between being system-centric and outcome-centric. And this is one of those huge ideas that I really want to make sure that chiropractors are understanding, make sure that you're understanding. And, to break it down a little bit farther, a lot of times we've been taught, chiropractors have been taught, oftentimes by marketers, that, to think about business, you've got to really make sure that you focus on your ROI, your return on investment. If I do this, if I invest money in this, if I invest time in this, what will I get in return? So there were times where, if you had to spend $1,000 a month on a Yellow Page ad, you wanted to make sure that you were putting your money in the right place. So you'd calculate, am I getting enough people to come in as a result of that investment to at least offset the cost. I've heard that you oftentimes want to get a 3-to-1 or minimum of 3-to-1 return on your financial investments. But here's where he sort of takes it a different direction. And one of the things I think I appreciate most is the metaphor that he uses, because as chiropractors, we really should appreciate this, because this is what we teach, or hopefully should be teaching, the people that come into our practice. And it goes something like this. If you're outcome centric, then what that means is you determine whether something is a worthy investment of your time and your money and your energy based on the return you get from doing it. So it's sort of like dipping your toe in the water to see kind of how it feels to determine if you really want to go in and swim. Well, the way he describes it is that oftentimes you should be calculating your outcomes in a longer term format based on the idea, not necessarily outcome. What does that mean? That means I think we can all agree that exercising on a consistent and regular basis will always be good and beneficial to your health. Now, obviously, I'm saying within reason, not hurting yourself and not trying to do 9 hours in one day as opposed to 30 minutes a day consistently, right? So consistent, safe, regular exercise will always be a good investment for people. But here's where the concept of ROI breaks down. If you try exercise for a little while and you wait to see what your outcomes will be to determine if exercise works or doesn't work, there's a really good chance you're not going to stick with it. And that, of course, is sort of the perfect metaphor. You might say the same thing about getting adjusted. Sure, some people will experience some relief in the very beginning, and some people determine that it works based on how they feel. But the reality is, in the long term, you're usually looking for different types of criteria. In other words, the benefits of things like exercise, the benefits of things like eating right? Eating healthier foods will always be a good investment in the long run, even though you might not be able to measure it in the short run, or even feel much better, or even notice you've lost much weight, or notice much measurable difference. But if you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, then you know that there will be a day. For some of you, it may be a week. Some of you, it may be a month. For some of you, it may be 6 months of exercising or eating right or getting a good night's sleep or staying well adjusted beyond the symptomatic relief phase, that you will absolutely notice a shift at some point that you'll recognize was well worth your investment. And what he's saying is that invest in building the systems that allow you to be sustainable, because that's where the results happen in being, we call this teach and invite consistently. And we always emphasize that it's the consistency that is the key to your success. You can teach and invite once or twice or 3 times, and you know you're doing the right thing. But if you're determining whether it works or not based on the feedback you get or the outcomes, you may be a little bit disappointed. And therefore, if you focus on measurement, you might just stop before you get to the good stuff. So that was really principle number 1. Principle number 2 is really focused on the concept that true change is an identity change. And this one, I think, applies to all of the chiropractors, or I'll say all of the smart chiropractors. Those are of our clients who really want to understand how to get lasting results and really how to keep this sustainable and grow over the long term. Here's what I mean by that. Most chiropractors go, I'm a chiropractor. I'm trying to post a few things every once in a while so that I get more new patients. That's most of our clients' concepts. Hey, you guys do some posting for us and let me see what I get. No problem. We do that. But for those docs that are looking for optimal results, that are looking for the best outcomes, not just the easiest approach, and we've got clients on both ends of the spectrum, and we don't judge which is which. You're welcome to use the tools however you like to. But it's very clear that some of our clients go, listen, I'm not going to do anything. Whatever you do for me, I'm willing to accept those benefits as the benefits. That's what I'm paying you for. But we have other clients that say, listen, I don't mind doing this stuff. I just need to know what to do and how to do it and how frequently I should do it, where I should do it, how I should do it. And for those of you who are in that specific category, here's the lesson, here's the message. What James is saying is that you really want to focus on who you are. One of the things he says is that the goal is not to read a book, it's to become a reader. Feel the difference in that just simple shift, right? If you read a book, you've accomplished a task. If you've shifted your identity to I'm a reader, then you're going to read this book and the next book and the book after that and the book after that. And that's where the results happen. In fact, Jeff, if you've got some of those images, I thought it was interesting to watch how he shows writing articles and building his subscriber list. And you can see that the outcome, the number of subscribers he gets, is directly proportional to how many reps or how much work he puts in. The more work you put in, the more subscribers you get. And it's going to work that way. You don't go, let me try a few articles and see if I get subscribers. And if I don't, I'll stop. You know that your identity, and this is the shift I want more and more chiropractors to start thinking. Think of yourself as an educator, or more specifically in today's kind of social media terms, as a creator, as a content creator. When we say think about being a teacher, teach and invite consistently, doctor means teacher. What we're saying is the way you teach in today's world is creating content, creating messaging. And the more creating you do, the more subscribers you will get over time. It's putting in the reps, okay? If you go to the gym, if you exercise, you know that there's no shortcut to putting in the reps. And you can't put all the reps in at one time and go, I'm done, I did it all. You put the reps in consistently over time and keep on doing it. And that has to do with, again, your identity. And that's why we're talking about mindset. Is the concept is not just to put a few posts out, see if it works, send a few emails, see if it works. It's to understand that keeping your message, your face, your name, your energy, your vibration, your caring heart, your concerned mindset in front of as many people as you possibly can, as often as you can, for the right reasons. Knowing, just like the farmer, plants seeds, puts them in the ground, doesn't come out tomorrow and next week and the week after that and go, do we have any trees? Do we have any fruit? Do we have any harvest? No. You know there's a process. In fact, BJ wrote principle number 6, there is no process that does not require time. So, Jeff, I'll kick it back over to you. Those are some of the mindset concepts that it's really about understanding what you're doing. That's why most of us get adjusted or get checked on a regular basis, whether we have symptoms or not. Some of us, kick the can down the road until we have them, but most of us know that the right thing to do is to get checked on a regular basis and get clear, get adjusted if necessary, proactively before you have symptoms, because it's the right thing to do. And the clearer you are, the more often you're clear, the longer you're clear, for the longer amount of time you're clear, the more connected you will be. And that's where life happens. Jeff, I know you read this book as well. It's a great recommendation. You enjoyed it. What were some of your takeaways?
Jason, I think you emphasized a lot of those key points: consistency, building fantastic habits, and being in it for the long term. And as we tie this to marketing, a lot of it ties directly to marketing, meaning marketing is about awareness. It's about consistency, as we teach, and you elaborated on with teach and invite consistently. And for many chiropractors out there, building your health tribe, building your audience, there is that inherent understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time. My encouragement to everybody listening and watching would be, don't get discouraged by that amount of time it will take. I think a lot of times we get started and then we see that it's going to take a lot of time and it's like, oh man, do I really want to put in that effort? Can I show up day after day? Now with the Smart Chiropractor, we make that as easy as possible for docs to be able to show up so that they have those monthly campaigns, those weekly topics, and those daily posts. But whether you're a member currently or you're going to be a member in the future and you haven't decided just yet, taking those action steps each and every day are what is going to help lead you to success. Marketing is about awareness. It's about consistency, and it's about building those great habits so that when the people in your community are ready to make that decision, you are top of mind. You are that first choice. That's, of course, I'm going to see Dr. Jason. Of course, I'll go to see Dr. Jeff because I have been following him or her online. That's about building trust. It's about building rapport. And that doesn't happen overnight. Just as with any relationship, that takes time. And James Clear's book, I think, is a great example of showcasing exactly what that means at the highest level and then breaking it down to practical steps so that you can get out there, stay consistent, and build great habits. Jason?
Yeah, just two more things I want to emphasize before we close this segment. Number one, for those of you that like numbers, that like data, one of the things you might have heard this before, but this is the source I found it, was if you improve 1% a day, right? And they go, of course, I could prove 1% today. That's not a major deal, right? This is the small habits that lead to big results. But the math is that if you improve 1% per day every day, that after a year, you will be 37 times better than where you are currently today. I know, Jeff, we've got a new book coming out, The Payday Practice, and we write about that compound interest, as Einstein talked about, that the compounding effect of little things over time really is where the magic happens. Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. You'll read about that, of course, in our upcoming Payday Practice. That's number one. Number two, one of the things I really appreciated in terms of applying the idea, you go, oh, great idea, great idea, great idea. It's all intellectual. But the takeaway, if you really want to get results, one of the things that he suggested, I want to suggest to all of you, get a calendar, a physical calendar, not a digital calendar, a physical calendar, and get your month. And one of the brilliant ideas, as super simple as it is, and usually the super simple ones are the great ones, was to start to create a chain, right? Every day you post your own video, right? If you're going to take our advice, you're going to think of yourself, I'm a content creator, I'm a creator, I'm going to get into this, I'm going to do stuff. Here's the tip or trick or way in which to sort of hack your way into positive habits, basically, to get great outcomes. Pull out your calendar. Every day you do a post, put a big X on the day that you did the post to show, I did it. And your goal should simply be to get as many X's in a row as you possibly can and don't break the chain. Really simple idea, really easy to apply, but that's where momentum matters and where you start building some accountability and some, you said, actually gave the credit to Seth Godin. The best way to get long-term benefits is with short-term feedback. And literally putting an X on a calendar that you can see and seeing all those X's in a row every day and feeling the pride of not breaking the chain, but every day putting in your rep is one of those instant feedback mechanisms to sort of hack your mindset to make sure you get going and stay in the process. Just wanted to make sure you all got that very simple, easy to apply tip. You can download a calendar online if you don't have one already. Put it up somewhere you're going to see it. Put the X every time you do a great post, and don't break the chain.
Don't break the chain. I love it. Great mindset mentor segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Jason, let's head over to clinical conversations on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Welcome to Clinical Conversations on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. We are going to revisit a talk from Axis 2021. That's Smart Chiropractor Online Clinical Conference. Stay tuned for details for Axis 2022 coming soon. One of the highlights of last year was Dr. John Rosa. He is an expert on the opioid crisis and epidemic. He has worked at the highest levels of government, and he is one of those guys that knows more about this topic than just about anybody that I have ever met. And we were fortunate to have him contribute a really, really great presentation to Axis 2021. We're going to revisit some highlight clips from that presentation right now on today's Smart Chiropractor Show and Clinical Conversations.
Which makes an overdose the leading cause of death for Americans under 50. Now, even during COVID, I mean, obviously COVID, we know most of the deaths due to COVID were elderly and those comorbidities. and the elderly meaning over 50, but the needle did not move. The number one cause of death in the United States of America for people that are under 50 years old is an opioid overdose. Let that sink in. So the CDC study, this actually comes up in some of the meetings that, because of the surrogate team that I'm involved with the White House, I do sit on calls that are pertaining to usage and mental health and stats and up and down. And some of the things were brought up about the prescriptions going from 30 pills in a bottle to only 8 days. That's how we're going to fix this. But if you look at these things, if you look at the study that was done, even somebody given it 1 day in a hospital setting ended up refilling prescriptions. There was a 6% chance just having that one pill that you followed up later to a year later to be continued using it. And a 2.9% risk that 3 years later from that one pill you still were taking the prescription. So 8 days, that jumps to 13.5, 30 days to 30%. So back in the day, if anybody remembers, yourself or your family members or parents or older, the population, that the doctor was God, what they said had to be done, and every medication that was given to them was treated like an antibiotic. You had to finish it. If you took a 30-day, I got my wisdom teeth were removed. I had a 30-day prescription for Percocet. I said I didn't need it, and I was told, you never know. You don't know if you're going to get a dry socket or a problem later. Take the prescription in case. That's how the market gets flooded. You twist your ankle, go to the ER, it's not broken, it's swollen, and it hurts to put pressure on it, and you walk out with 30 OxyContin. This was happening hundreds of thousands of times a day, and literally. Now, if you took it and you just figured out just take the 30 pills because it does hurt, you have a 30% chance that a year later, you're still taking those prescription medications. These people did not start out wanting to look and feel and be who they are. This is some work that I had done in a county sheriff's office, and I did a lecture, and they supplied some pictures of the first arrest to the last arrest before they overdosed and passed. But this is a 7-year turn of a person who, if you think that person on the right of the screen wanted to be that person compared to the one on the left, you're mistaken. A lot of times we look at these people and say, you walk by the street and you can see somebody lying there, you know that there's an issue, and you're like, look what you're doing to yourself. We really should be saying, look what we did to you. Like, society has not been grasping this well enough. There are some people that just have mental health overlay that is so strong that it's a difficult task to separate. But for the most part, most of the mental health overlay is just people using, not for pain purposes, but to numb their existence. This is a 7-year period, same person. You can tell the guy on the left did not want to become the guy on the right. And here's a 4-year period and a 1-year period and only a few months, what happens with usage. Secondary personal effects. Now, this is not just, of course, we're looking at the fact that people become dependent and addicted, and it has an effect on the individual who can obviously pass from an overdose. But the secondary effects, the ripple effects that occur as a societal change, those families are completely disrupted. Relationships dissolve, friendships disappear. Theft is involved because they have to keep up a habit. Incarceration issues, rape, because there's people that are putting themselves in those positions in order to obtain money for drugs, depression, suicide, and sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is a big deal that we don't realize actually intertwines. I'm actually co-producing a documentary that should be out at the end of this year. It's all revolving around sex trafficking, but my influence was on how these young people being brought in and trafficked are actually being put on opioids or heroin so that they can be controlled, because they'll make them dependent and then they'll stay in that trafficking system just so that they can obtain the drugs. So there's other things going on besides a bad prescription. And secondary economic effects, this is interesting because we're looking at $608 billion a year influence. These are the actuaries and accountants and futurists that look at what the true cost is, and not just the cost of the death or the cost of the medicine, but the decrease in workforce, the dependency, the cost of police and coroners, EMS and the healthcare system. All that stuff adds up when you're talking about a crisis. $608 billion a year is kind of fascinating. And if you guys, I know if you're on this and you're looking for information, tidbits, research, you're part of this organization, stats are important to you and information is as well. That 608 billion is actually reflected very similarly in our low back pain issue and its economic effects. So from an overdose or drug use perspective, to be 608 billion, and so is low back pain on itself, and we know what we can do for both, you're looking at a 1.2, $1.3 trillion issue that we can have a massive impact on. If that doesn't get the attention of your local community and political circles, as it does as in the higher ups, because believe me, when I'm in these meetings and I'm at the level of the White House, I'm shaking that cage for all of us and I'm throwing numbers around that mean something so that you can get the attention of people. But I need everybody who's listening to understand, you want to get into these circles, you got to learn just the basics. So some of this stuff is just, it's overpowering, it's upsetting, but it's knowledge and that you can keep in your brain, in your hands to have these conversations. So contributing factors, we're going to look at what else happens, right? So there's a breakdown of reality. Over 50% of addicted have associated mental health issues. That number is actually much smaller. I'm looking at saying it's 100% because there are people with mental health issues that are susceptible more for dependency and addiction. But once anybody gets into the dependency state, the mental health overlay is insanity because they don't want to be doing what they're doing. Their brain is telling them they need it. They know it's detrimental to themselves, but they still, that's literally the definition of addiction, that they continue to do something they know is harmful, but they do it anyway. And that mental health overlay, whether it's the start of the problem, during the problem, or the end of the problem, it's always there. And if you look at the charting over the last 20 years of anxiety, depression diagnosis and addiction diagnosis, they slide together. They're one and the same. And if we have the 24-hour news cycles, the social media, competitive success, like people are living in the basement of their parents' house in their 30s, and they're watching all their high school friends post as they're in Tahiti on vacation. It's debilitating to some people. Cyberbullying is an issue. False sense of community. You could have 1,000 friends on Facebook. None of them are showing up for coffee, right? And so you really don't have, it's isolation in and of itself. And that isolation only grows during a time when we're being told that we can't see people, talk to people, look at people, gather with people, have fun with people. That isolation exclamation point is massive during COVID, and the effects of it post-COVID are going to be shattering. Here comes coronavirus, right? And coronavirus is pounding on the three heads of the beast, that you cut one head off, it grows back. You cut all three, it grows back. And especially when that tail in the background is dictating, you literally got to cut all four of them off at the same time to make it go away. But substance abuse is massively up, which obviously revolves around the mental health issues that go along with it, with stress, anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, domestic violence, and suicide are through the roof. So we're actually seeing the timing is right to have these discussions in a medical circle, because everybody's going to be looking for these alternatives outside of medication as we find out and look under the hood on how they're actually making things worse instead of better. So, you're living on pins and needles for obvious reasons, and the stress hormone levels are going to be produced and supersede what our normal good chemistry can produce. This is where the susceptibility for addiction, dependency on a foreign substance comes, because we're not producing the happy, feel-good chemicals that we should be. And the flight, fright, freeze responses are on high alert. Obviously, fear of, we have the virus, and fear of financial issues and the job, whether you're going to have one, or is there going to be a check coming in at the end of the month. Fear of child development and students. There's poor people who have children and they had to take care of themselves, and then their depression levels are visible. Anger over injustice, racial divide, political election series. What we went through was an incredible divisiveness, and anger over loss for obvious reasons. That kind of constant bombardment of fear and anger only stimulates the sympathetic nervous system and not the para, which actually puts us in a normal state of homeostasis.
That was Dr. John Rosa at Access 2021, and we're looking forward to Access 2022. Jason, was one of the most powerful presentations. We just looked at a small section in the middle, and any doc watching this, listening, if you had any you need an extra kick in the butt to get out there, to be present in your community, to build relationships with other healthcare providers, to let people know who you are and what you're about. I can't think of anything more powerful than that talk to showcase just the depths of really what's going on out there. And I know many of us at times, whether we run a pain center, a performance center, a wellness-based practice, you start to see things day in and day out, and maybe some of us become sensitized over time. And this is a stark reminder of what's really going on, to the tune of hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of people, when you look at the impact that these medications have made over the last 20 years, that most of it starts with chronic pain, that 30 to 50% of individuals in the United States, adults, report having chronic pain. And when we have the answer, yes, can chiropractic do so much beyond that? Absolutely. But man, we have a lot of work to do to help people really get their lives in order with a natural healthcare solution. Jason?
Jeff, that really is it. And I just sort of pause with a sense of, you just almost can't believe that, this is real. And you touched on it. Yeah, there's plenty of things for us amongst chiropractors to sort of debate about. Is it for pain only? Is it for other things? We can debate all we want to about that, but you can't deny the fact that we are effective in helping people feel better with most of their musculoskeletal issues most of the time. That's just what the data says and what your clinical experience shows. And yet here we are with pretty much, the number one cause of death is people becoming drug addicts because they don't know where else to turn for their musculoskeletal problems. That says exactly what you said, Jeff. I'll just simply reiterate, we've got a lot of work to do, and there's plenty of opportunity. There is no shortage of people out there who need your services. So it's always one of those sort of WTF moments when, we talk to chiropractors, we see collectively chiropractors present from stage to an audience hungry to learn how to get more new patients, as if there's a lack of them, as if there's some secret. And the reality is, we're saying it over and over again, it's almost too obvious that if you'll teach and invite consistently, if you will share with people what they don't know about their ability to self-heal, if you'll invite them to take a next step, which is likely to work with you and find out if they've got some sort of issue or problem, a subluxation or some other issue or concern you can help them with, if you'll teach and invite them, and the key word is consistently, you should never have a problem attracting people who need and want your services. But if you just see yourself as a technician waiting for people to magically somehow understand that you've got magic hands to help them without putting out some sort of message to go, hi, I'm here, you're going to miss the major opportunity. Even McDonald's and Coca-Cola, and there's no lack of pharmaceutical advertisements over and over and over and over, spending millions, in some cases billions of dollars reinforcing their message in your community's mind. The reason is because that repetition works. If you're looking to figure out how to finally crack the code on making sure people understand what you do in your community, then understanding what Dr. Rosa talked about, really feeling that in your heart, not just your own need of your stress, of your financial needs, but you really understand that with your hands, with your heart, and with your mind and mouth, you can communicate with people how you can be helping them in a very natural and effective way. You will never need a new patient again. That's really what this is all about. Stay tuned for Jeff and I's new book coming out called The Payday Practice. We're going to keep repeating it. It's coming out soon. And the reason we're going to keep repeating it is because it is the way once and for all to finally eliminate your monthly financial stress so that you can afford to tell people the truth about what you do, the truth about how you can help them, the truth about what long-term care might do for their benefit for those that choose it, not because you're forcing them, not because you're convincing them, not because it's the only option, but because you have articulated it in a way that most people go, nobody's ever explained it to me that way before. That makes a ton of sense. Let's do what you're talking about. That's what it's all about. Thanks for bringing this one back out. I don't know any greater opportunity, and it just stares our profession in the face of how we could let this epidemic, continue on without really rising and shining, at least locally in your community. Collectively, who knows, if thousands of chiropractors start going, I can help you, I can help you, I can help you, we might see that collective shift take place. And I sure hope that we do.
Well said, Jason. And thank you, Dr. Rosa, for contributing. We're sure to revisit that on future episodes. Let's head over to our Research That Matters segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Smart Chiropractor show. It is April 12th, 2022, believe it or not, and it is our Research That Matters segment. For all of our Smart Chiropractor members, you are aware that we talk about teach and invite consistently, and we frame that through monthly campaigns, weekly topics, and daily posts. This month's monthly campaign is all around automobile accidents. You don't have to be a PI-focused chiropractic practice to have some auto accidents happen. If you have a big enough client base, patient base, you will notice that some fender benders happen, and that is our monthly campaign. Now, our weekly topic is around what you need to know about delayed pain after a car accident. Now, why are we talking about that topic? We're talking about that topic because when we investigate our monthly campaigns and when we investigate our weekly topics, we look at what people are searching for. What are the questions people in your community have around their health that you can proactively answer for them? That's how you teach and invite consistently. That's how you build trust and credibility in your community. There's a lot of people searching in and around the topic of delayed onset pain after a car accident. So all of the Smart Chiropractor materials for this week tie in to that weekly topic, which of course ties into our monthly campaign. There's a couple things that I wanted to just break off, some little clinical pearls to showcase and highlight if you haven't thought about this topic in a little while. And delayed pain is a very real thing. It's searched hundreds of thousands of times each and every year. And it's for a real reason. If you think about the last time potentially you got in a fender bender, thankfully for me, it's been many, many moons, but I can remember it. And to say my heart rate went up is an understatement. There's a massive adrenaline rush. It's almost like you're displaced from what's going on. And thankfully, in my case, I was not particularly injured, but I can tell you, it was difficult to assess at that moment in time. The physiological changes that occur due to that instant stress that happens, the noise, the screeching, the impact, all of the thoughts around that are overwhelming. And if you have been in an accident, I'm sure you can resonate with what I'm saying. And many people out there, if they tend to have a whiplash injury, partial ligament tearing, if it's not, thankfully, an abject injury, quite often the adrenaline in that moment can overtake. Additionally, we know that inflammation tends to take time. As Jason alluded to on a previous segment on today's show, every process takes time. So when an accident occurs, there are those cases where whether it's a MTBI, whether it's a mild traumatic brain injury, whether it's a sprain strain injury, these things can take a little while to manifest. That could be minutes, that could be hours in some cases. But often the stress, the endorphin rush, the adrenaline rush, everything that occurs at that moment in time of the accident can very easily overtake. And it can be days, it can be weeks, not very often months, but it can take days or weeks before the true ramifications of that accident really come into play in an individual's life. So getting out there and just letting people know that, hey, if you have pain, and let's just cut to the heart of it. Many individuals, if they're reporting pain 3 to 5 days later, they're concerned that they're going to be called a liar, that they might be manifesting these things, that they're making it up for financial gain. And the truth of the matter is that it only happens a small percentage of the time. For an overwhelming majority of people that are going to present to your practice, maybe they're current patients who happen to get in an accident, maybe there's somebody who has been involved in an accident that's referred into your practice. they are telling the truth. They want to get well. They're looking for assistance to get better. Thankfully, turning to you, tying into our previous segment, hopefully without the use of those just nefarious drugs and medications. So when somebody has delayed onset of pain, letting people know that you're going to go through your evaluation, you want to take a complete history, that you're going to get all the information possible, can set people at ease. So is delayed onset a real thing? 100% it is. Is it something that you should talk about in your practice? I believe so, because it's a question that so many people that have been involved in accidents have. And it's an opportunity for you to connect with people at a real level, answering the questions they really have about their health, especially in the case of a car accident in a time of need. Jason?
I think you hit it. When I saw this topic, my initial radar was, wow, what are the people who are not PI practices going to talk about? And then I paused for a moment and I said, wait a minute. As you said earlier, this is not about a PI practice. It's not about taking care of personal injury or anything like that. The reality is that most people at some point have been in some sort of small or large car accident at some point in their lifetime. And if they haven't, they've been fortunate. They know somebody who has, and oftentimes it's a family member. So this is not about been in an accident lately, come on in. It is about teaching people about the impact these things, these injuries, these impacts can have physically and psychologically over time. That it's really difficult, even in the small, as they call them, fender benders. There wasn't a lot of damage to the car, therefore there must not have been much damage to my body, is not the right connection or correlation. So knowing these things, being an expert, teaching people about their bodies and how their bodies work, that's really the shift in this whole teach and invite consistently model. That it's not always about selling chiropractic. Oh, chiropractic is good for this, it's good for that, it's good for the other thing. That usually comes across as, why are you always selling me on your services? And that's a very different approach than teaching people about how their bodies work. Many of not most of us, if not all of us, when we watch some of these shows, podcasts, when you watch somebody like a Deepak Chopra or other, maybe even some of the guests on a Joe Rogan podcast and so on, what they teach is about how people's bodies work. The anatomy and physiology, the Guyton's type stuff, if you remember back in class, right? The mechanisms that your body goes through in order to function properly, and the mechanisms that your body goes through when your body's not functioning properly. If you'll teach people about how their bodies work, then they're much more knowledgeable about what to do to take care of themselves and what to do when something's not functioning the way it's supposed to be. And car accidents happen to be something that most people have been in or know somebody who's been in, whether they're small or large. It's an important topic. Don't just write it off as, well, I don't handle that stuff. If you handle people, you do, there's a very high likely chance that some, if not most of them, have had some sort of experience like this. Be a great teacher. Invest in the long haul. Teach people about themselves. Another great topic. Remember, the concept is annual calendar. Think long term. Monthly campaigns. Think we're going to keep talking about something different. And then teach and invite consistently. Be an advisor, a teacher, a mentor. So people look to you as the expert to help them better understand how they can live their best lives thanks to you and what you teach them. That's the way to go. Great segment, great choice.
This segment has been brought to you by the Smart Chiropractor. So if you would like to teach and invite consistently, see more of your ideal new patients, better retention, and more reactivations without spending any money on paid advertising, head over to thesmartchiropractor.com and check it out, thesmartchiropractor.com. Jason, I think it is time to have our member highlight on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Member highlights on today's Smart Chiropractor show. It is April 12th, 2022, and we are going to feature a doc that has been a Smart Chiropractor member for a little while. This is Dr. Brian Ghessi at Ghessi Chiropractic. I have seen his name floating around online for many moons. Why? because this is somebody that teaches and invites consistently. And I'm going to share my screen right now. We're going to take a look at Dr. Brian's Facebook page right here. So you can see Dr. Brian has a nice looking Facebook page. He has 4.7 stars, 41 reviews, but let's head in to that feed. What you're going to notice in his feed are some fantastic Smart Chiropractor posts tying in to our weekly topic and our monthly campaign. And as I scroll down, you'll see that some of the posts have personalization that is part of the Smart Chiropractor. I'm talking web address. You can see here where it has his telephone number and his practice name all built into the post. So there's that beautiful personalization that improves the opportunity for engagement, that makes it easier for people to click through, makes it easier for people to call your office and to really identify who you are and what you do. But as we scroll down here, a couple things that I want to showcase with Dr. Brian's page is he does a great job of mixing in some of his own posts and his own content. And if you are looking, to take your page to the next level, utilizing the Smart Chiropractor posts, stepping it up with some of your own personalized posts is a great way to do it. Jason?
This is really about understanding what we think of as the hybrid approach. Just to sort of set the record straight. Bless you. Just to set the record straight. The way to think about this is not, should they do it for me or should I do it myself? The metaphor that we talk about is based on what you've already seen, what you've grown up with, and it's the way which local television stations think about creating content. The idea is that most of your local affiliates, your NBC affiliate, ABC affiliate, Fox affiliate, CBS affiliate, you have a local version of a national network. So you may see high quality, high cost shows, the Super Bowl, Seinfeld, Wheel of Fortune, all the other shows that you'll see on every station in the nation, but you have local news, sports, and weather that makes it relevant to your local community. Well, that's the metaphor of how you should be thinking about your posting syndication. Let us create the high quality, research-based, beautifully designed posts that are automatically put out for you so that builds the audience of people for you to provide your equivalent of local news, sports, and weather. Your equivalent is your experience, your testimonials, different events or things going on in your specific office. So it is not either or, should I just watch the national stuff or the local stuff? The way television networks historically have built the largest audience, and that's your goal, to build a large audience of followers who learn to learn from you. Use this hybrid approach. Let us create the high quality stuff, but then you create and share your local version. You'll see every time on the news, every night, there's some national story and a local expert talking about, commenting on their local impact of the national story. That's the way to do it. That's the model. It's been proven over many, many years. That's the way you want to think about these types of weekly posts. The more you do it, the more you think about yourself as a creator, not just a chiropractor who's got to do this stuff, but as a doctor or teacher who really wants to share this information because you care about people. The longer you do it, the more momentum you build, the better results you'll get. Great job to Dr. Brian. Way to go. Keep up the great work.
Dr. Brian's page was so good, it got me choked up. So thank you for taking that one over, Jason. Wrong pipe going on there. But Brian, great job mixing in some of that personalized content, utilizing Smart Chiropractor automations to ensure that you're staying super consistent. It's helping you get more reviews. It's helping you get more engagement, more people coming over. And bottom line is, as we talked about earlier today, this is about being present. It's about showcasing who you are. It's about building trust long term. The actions you take today will give you those results as time unfolds. You're doing a great job showing up each and every day, Brian. Well done. Let's move on to our featured guest on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Smart Chiropractor Show featured guest segment. Today, we are going to highlight an interview that Jason and I had with Dr. Lisa Thomson. She is the president-elect of CalChiro, the California Chiropractic Association. She is a young leader doing fantastic work at some of the highest levels in our profession. Jason and I explored with her why getting involved matters. Without further ado, here is our interview with Dr. Lisa Thomson. Hey docs, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. Thanks for tuning in to today's Smart Chiropractor Show, and we have a special featured guest today, a doc that I've known for a few years now, and probably is a familiar face to many people out there today, Dr. Lisa Thomson, president of the California Chiropractic Association. Lisa, thanks for coming on with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
You got it. And I want to trace it back to the beginning. President of the largest association in the country, I'm going to assume, by a state perspective. How did you even get started with it? I know there's a lot of young docs out there that would like to become involved, but maybe don't even know where to start. So let's trace it back to the beginning. What made you get interested in becoming involved, and what were those first steps that led to where you are today?
Yeah, so for me, I'm not from California. I'm from upstate New York originally, went to Palmer, Florida. And I didn't want to go back up to the cold. So I packed up my car and drove out to California and decided I was going to open my own practice. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I joined the California Chiropractic Association as a way of getting information, getting resources. They had a great online area at the time where I could get, whether it was personal injury or insurance, all the stuff that we aren't taught maybe as much as we should be in school. So they had those great resources. So I used that. And then I started going to the events and started making some great contacts, and not only making friends, but having other chiropractors that could help me. And there's so many wanted to help. It wasn't just competition. It was all people wanting to help. So then I met some of the local leaders, and they were like, oh, you should come to our leadership meetings. So I did that, and things just started to snowball. I ended up going up to Sacramento for our legislative day. And that's where I really saw how important the state associations are. We're the only ones fighting for chiropractic. Nobody else is doing this for us. So I think that was kind of the big moment for me. It was already good, and it was great to be involved and great to meet new people. But once I was in Sacramento and saw the impact that we have and can have, that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna step up as much as I can. And I just kept running for positions, and here I am.
That is awesome. I'm going to ask you two questions in one, which is, number one, what drives you to want to, give back and serve the profession to the level that you do? I know you've got a practice, you've got a family, you've got a life, you're not looking for extra things to do, I'm assuming. So number one, what drives you to really be of service at that level? And two, how important is it for you to have members that join and support? What's that ratio, and why does the practicing chiropractor, how do they benefit, or what contribution do they make when they sign up and become a member and contribute?
Yeah, so part one of that, and what drives me, is I love what I do. I love being a chiropractor. I see all day that I can help people without drugs and without surgery. And preaching to the choir on a chiropractic podcast, but we all see every day, oh, I went to my wherever, and it was just medication, and it was, they didn't help me, and I need something else. And knowing that if we have the right leadership to kind of just promote what we can really do, I think it's incredible. I think we can change the world, as crazy as that sounds. It's true. So I felt morally obligated to step up. It wasn't like, oh, I really want to take all this time away from my family and all this stuff and just do this. No, it's like, it felt like if the profession thought I was the right person for the job at this time, then I would work my butt off and do as much as I can, because I love what I do, and I think it's very important. So I also have a supportive husband and my kids, who I try, and since I do own my own business, I can kind of make that work as much as I can. And I think everybody can get involved in a different way. So saying what impact we can have, it's different for every person. For me, it's my big thing at first was sports and sports symposium. I started helping plan that. And that was great. And I'm a big nerd, so education was really important to me. Some people don't have the time to do stuff like that or don't care. We need money too. Just if you could support being a member and support financially, that helps. Some people are really good at and are passionate about insurance stuff. That's not what interests me. So everybody's different. We have our committees and task forces that help in their own ways. And if you don't have the time to do it, then just being a member helps also. There's so many different ways to give back, and it all helps. Every little thing helps.
Did you say somebody's passionate about insurance? I got to meet this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
People who their insurance
They're out
knowledge
there.
blows my mind because they want to make a difference. It's not like they like sitting there and dealing with Blue Cross Blue Shield all the time, but they know they can make a difference, and I love them for that.
I could not agree more. Jason asked a little bit about sort of what drove you, but I'm going to say, with all the things that you have going on, with all of the, I'm sure as we'll explore, the challenges and opportunities, being at that, at that level, on that stage. I'd love to just talk a little bit about mindset. What are maybe some, I don't know, anything from a favorite book to a mindset strategy? I feel like you have to have a pretty strong mindset. You have to have a positive mental attitude really to be able to do all the things that you do. How do you think about mindset day in and day out? How do you kind of protect yours? And what are your thoughts around that topic?
Yeah, well, one, I'll say it's not easy. So if I say my books or whatever and make it's not easy. So everybody struggles with this stuff. I think the busier I get, the more it forces me to really be aware of that and take care of myself and get organized. So for me, my big way for my mindset is I walk and listen to Audible. So I have a whole bunch of books that I like, and lately a lot of leadership books because I want to be a good leader. Atomic Habits is probably my favorite right now. I'm a big Brene Brown fan, so anything by her, but those are my favorite. So I walk. I've got a loop that I do. It's a couple miles. I'll put my headbutt or my earbuds in, and I will do my loop and I will listen to it. And I'm usually have like 2 or 3 books going at a time because every day is different. Some days I'm like, okay, I've got a lot of stress with leadership stuff. I need to do this. Other days it's okay. My kids or COVID stuff. This morning I got a call from my son's school after I dropped him off. He needed a COVID test to go back to school today, but he wasn't out of school. Somebody had COVID 5 days ago, so they're making kids test 5 days. It's like, so I might need a different book than a leadership book today. But it's all incredibly important. And just the exercise itself too. But for me, that combination is huge. Listening to a book, whatever is needed for me at that time, and then getting the movement in also is, I don't know if I go a couple days, I'm like, oh, what's wrong with me? And then I go for my walk, I'm like, oh, I just needed that.
Fresh air, sunshine, and movement is a great recipe. Lisa, help me understand. You are basically in charge of, as Jeff said, the largest, I'm assuming it's the largest state. I assume it's one of the larger associations. What can you, and most things start in California, what can you tell us about the landscape, what you're seeing, what you're hearing? We're obviously living in insane times. It's the bizarro world. From your perspective as president, looking at the landscape of the state and the nation, what are you hearing? Is there any good news? Anything we need to be concerned about? What are you seeing from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, overall, I think things are good. California, things are pretty crazy. It's I never know what I'm going to hear the next day. I mean, like that example this morning was perfect, or it's like, they don't have to quarantine, but now they have to test. It's crazy. So, but overall, especially being president of the state association, we also have our Chiro Congress where all the presidents of all the state associations meet, and which California is not the largest. I know Michigan has more members than we do. We could really use more members. So if you're from California, give me a call if you're not a member. But I mean, overall, things are good. I mean, especially Chiro Congress is doing some awesome things. If anybody listening isn't aware of the big project there, it's not their project, but we're all involved with it. And oh my gosh, I'm going to forget what it's called right now because I wasn't planning on talking about it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The big project that Chiro Congress is kind of spearheading, where basically we're creating what our mission is for everybody as chiropractors, and it's everybody coming together, whether it's a straight chiropractor or evidence-based or whatever you call yourself. Everybody's getting together and trying to find. There's so much common ground. We as chiropractors tend to focus on other stuff when we have all these battles when there's so much common ground that we have. And to be in the room with all these people who are so different and to have everybody come together and raise money together and get excited about this together is so cool. And the amount of time and effort and thought that is going into this is fantastic. And I can't believe I couldn't think of what it's called. So apologize, Jay Greenstick's going to be so mad at me. But it's really cool to be in that room. There was one of our last meetings, I think like over $60,000 was raised in like 15 minutes. But that I'm very excited about because we all have so much in common.
I could not agree more. There's just it's wild to look from the outside in, and you try to take a step outside and think, take off the chiropractic hat and be like, gosh, exactly. So many chiropractors have so much in common, yet there tends to be these little divisions that end up becoming huge issues over time. And I'm certainly happy to hear that the leaders around the country are getting together, kind of breaking bread and making progress towards what can really continue to move our profession, forward as a whole. I think that is so critically important. I'm going to ask you a tough question here. As you got started, what was maybe one of these unforeseen challenges as president? You came in, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure there's loose ends all over the place. What's maybe a challenge that you weren't expecting that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a new challenge every day, I think. One is before I got sworn in and had a first meeting, and then I had people coming up to me like, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And it was like, whoa, like, I'm happy to talk to anybody. I have no hidden agenda. I'm transparent. I'm just trying to help the profession. So it kind of threw me off because I'm not a combative person at all. Especially our meeting was in Napa, so after some wine, people were bringing that up. And I think one of the biggest challenges is just time management for me, because I do have a busy practice and I do have a family, and I have my phone, I get text messages all day. Hey, why did this happen? What did this happen? And it's like, I don't have all the answers. I never will have all the answers. I can help guide people, but I don't have all the answers. And I think stepping into this role, a lot of people are like, oh, she must know all of these things. And I don't. I have an amazing, I wouldn't even have ran for the position as president if I didn't have an amazing team around me. I am just one person of this awesome team. Our board of directors is fantastic. Our staff is fantastic. Trickling out, all of our leadership leaders are fantastic. So I don't have all the answers. And I think that's one of the big things is the constant emails and text messages and trying to figure out, okay, this is important. And then this one, like, you can get to it later, but don't stress about it, and just trying to make everybody happy when I know that's not ever going to happen. Yeah.
That is a tough one. And both of us admire you deeply for taking on the role. It's as much as people are like, I want to be president. There's a lot of thankless hours, and you'll let us know whether that becomes a net positive versus the sacrifices that you're making in the years to come. But I want to pick up on, you mentioned more members. And it's, I think one of the most frustrating things for anybody in a leadership position, I've known many of them, is what you need to do to activate practicing chiropractors to want to get involved, who oftentimes are just so focused on their immediate needs and their survival. So how do you answer the question, for the practicing chiropractor who goes, I'm barely able to make ends meet. I've got all, bills to pay, responsibilities, kids, mortgages, etc. When people ask you, well, what do I get out of, being a member of the CCA? What's the benefit to the practicing chiropractor to want to make that investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, California anyway, it's like $63 a month. So it's very affordable to be a member. And for me, because I see the big picture, I see the importance of it as we're protecting our profession. We're protecting our right to practice. And even though we don't always see the wins, sometimes the little things in the background that we prevented that you don't hear about are just as important, if not more important. When COVID hit, we were considered essential. We had some really hard conversations with some, we'll say, some political figures who may not like chiropractors that much. And these conversations went well. We were considered essential and able to stay open. Stuff like that is huge. But on top of that, we have discounts for CEs. We've got local meetings. There's so much stuff. We have a new website that has a list of stuff. I see new stuff on that all the time. There's all these discounts and benefits that we have. And the third thing that's huge is the friendship and meeting with people. Like we had a meeting in La Quinta 2 weeks ago. It was awesome just to be able to see everybody again since it's been a while and have those conversations with like-minded people. And La Quinta is beautiful. There's so many beautiful places in California. We have meetings that helps, but for me, it's a no-brainer. I give extra just because I see, like, I have my dues and then I'm donating to the PAC and giving my time because I love what I do. And if, like, my neighbors aren't going to do anything, they don't care, but I'm a chiropractor and we're the ones who are going to move our profession forward, right? Yeah. So lots of benefits, but I'm biased.
Well, and you should be. And I think there's a couple of points that you made there that I just want to touch on. One is, for those docs that are really, ROI minded, I think you brought up a great point with the discounts. You could probably offset, the cost of membership by utilizing, the companies utilizing the discounts available to you. So whether current members are watching, make sure you're utilizing them because that's what they're there for. Or if you're a future member, be sure to check it out because a lot of times these costs can be offset by the discounts that are offered. The second portion, Lisa, that you touched on, I think is important, is so many chiropractors out there are lone wolves, right? We become sort of siloed within our practice and, it becomes, well, I don't want to get out of my practice because now, I'm trying to, do better in my, and it becomes this bizarre, circle or spiral where actually getting out, building those, bridges, talking with other docs and really extending beyond your practice is one of the things that actually can make you more successful, even if it takes you out of the practice a little bit more. And I think that those are just really key points I want docs to realize as we'd encourage, everybody that's watching and listening within California to, head over to the website. And on that note, where do docs go? Where's the easiest place for them to head over and learn more? I don't think we want to give them your phone number to text you, but where's the easiest and best place that docs can get started in the California Chiropractic Association?
Yeah, of course. So the last couple of years, we were working with I think it was a marketing team. They said there's so many CCAs out there. So we now go by Cal Chiro. And so you can look up Cal Chiro now, and that's where you'll find the California Chiropractic Association stuff instead of CCA. And I don't mind if people reach out to me, but prefer email so I can have time to think and prioritize. And my email is simple. It's DRL Thomson. There's no P in Thomson. So DRLTHOMSON@gmail.com. And I am happy to help and answer questions. I know that's busy and stuff is part of the job. I'm okay with that.
Lisa, I'll just ask as we sort of wrap up, is there, you mentioned when I asked you about, like what's in it for me, most of what I think most associations are doing are what I'll call defense, very similar to in chiropractic. Many of the best benefits are the things you never will get because you've been proactive and these things don't happen that otherwise would have happened had you not been involved. Are there any offensive initiatives or a vision of some sort that can not only help chiropractors know, okay, we're protecting our rights, we're making sure we can stay open, we're making sure we have some sort of insurance parity, et cetera. But what's the offensive vision? What's the dream? What is, if you doubled your membership, in the next 30 days, what would you do with the money? What would you do with the resources? What's the offensive vision for the association and maybe even for you?
Yeah, Well, I mean, really, we are a political organization. So that's exactly like talking about parity and all that. That's exactly what our goals are. And that's a lot of where the money goes to. I just had a PAC meeting on Monday. We were talking about, okay, we have a new PAC group and we're trying to decide what money goes where. And on top of that, what we have surveys that go out that say to our members, what's important to you? How can we help? Parity is usually number one. But things like sports physicals in California right now, so you can kind of do sports physicals, but in the wording of the CIF language, it doesn't mention chiropractors. So some schools won't accept sports physicals from a chiropractor. And that's depending on your area, it's a problem sometimes. So it's all the things, but really whatever we're going to fight for is what our members want. It's not about me. It's what I want. It's not about our board and what they want. It's what our members want. So that's it. And we would love to be more offensive. So trying to compete with the California Medical Association is very hard with all their millions and millions of dollars. And we're just this little group over here. So a lot of times the defensive side is the only thing we can do. But stronger together. So more people we have as members, the better. So whether you're in California or whatever state you're in, join. Yeah,
I
and
think
one person can make a difference.
that is a great take-home message, and I think you are a fantastic example of that, serving at an exceptionally high level in your community, taking care of people. I've seen you teach sports courses, and you're absolutely fantastic at that. And then stepping up to become president of the California Chiropractic Association. Lisa, I know you are super busy, and I want to say on behalf of Jason and our entire team, thank you so much for taking a few moments and coming on. Docs out there, Cal Chiro, if you are in California and not a member, head over, search Cal Chiro. Check it out, become a member, utilize the discounts, and I'll throw it out there. Meet up with Lisa at the next event, and I guarantee you'll have a good time. So, Lisa, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
Great interview with Lisa Thomson. Lisa, thank you for coming on. Thank you for serving in Cal Chiro. And docs, I don't think we need to beat around the bush. It has not been easy to practice in the state of California over the last few years. It has been some of the most challenging times that we've seen. So please consider getting involved at that local level, potentially getting involved on the state or the national level. Your involvement is what matters. All of us have to do our part, and we can all do that in different ways, but hopefully this was encouraging for why you should become involved at some level, in some capacity, not only for your practice, but for chiropractors around the world. Jason?
I was really, I guess, I'll say inspired by, the feedback when I asked, what's your offensive plan? Her answer to some degree was, well, it depends on our members. Our job is to serve our members. And what that says to me is we need more members who have a vision for the future. And, we're living in a time, and I guess if you want to extrapolate it out, the opposite of cancel culture is get active, engage. Be there, vote with your dollars, vote with your presence, vote with your voice. And if you're not happy with the direction of the organization, then obviously you can stay out of it and go, well, they're not doing what I want them to do. Or you can say, well, maybe I need to get involved and be part of a larger group of people that are saying, hey, we need to steer our organization, our leadership in this direction. And those are the choices. Those are the options. That's truth and consequences. So that's the truth. Those are the consequences. And, Lisa seemed to be a great example of somebody who's engaged and willing to say, I'm investing my time, my energy, my spirit, my life into trying to make a positive difference. And for that, she deserves all of our admiration and perhaps the inspiration for more of us to get involved ourselves.
Well said. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on. And docs out there listening and watching, head over to Cal Chiro and see how you can also become involved. Let's head over to our strategic marketing segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Smart Chiropractor Show. It is strategic marketing time. This is when we we do get tactical. And then we're about to get tactical right now. We're going to talk about quarterly reactivation email campaigns. We kick off everybody that comes on board with the Smart Chiropractor with what we call our Success Blast. And this is designed within the first 14 to 30 days to get reactivations into your practice. So many docs out there really haven't utilized their email list to any degree. I'm not even going to say optimized. For many docs, it is an afterthought. It's something that sits around. You might not even know how many people are exactly on your email list. Never mind utilizing it consistently to teach and invite and to build trust and rapport. And email is just one of those tools. It's those ROI power tools, as we would say, that enable you really to communicate at a high level, to teach and invite in a very direct fashion, and to see pretty darn good action very quickly. That's why we call it a success blast. It's a few emails that go out to your entire list, and it's designed to re-engage and reactivate. However, it does not end right there. With the Smart Chiropractor, we advocate for, produce, and automate for all of our members a weekly email newsletter that goes out each and every week to your entire list. And yes, it ties in to your annual calendar, to your monthly campaign, and to your weekly topic. It's super powerful. It helps get opens. We really craft our subject lines in a way that inspires people to open those emails. And then we create the teach and invite moments within that email so that they click through. And each email is personalized for your practice. So people are able to click through, hop right over to your online scheduler, and come back on board. Now, in addition to the Success Blast, and in addition to those weekly email newsletters, we also greatly encourage all of our members to use a quarterly reactivation campaign. We have this built out. We have all the templates for our docs, and they're built into Chiro emails, which is part of the Smart Chiropractor. But if you are not yet a member, I'd like for you just to consider utilizing a quarterly reactivation campaign. If you're not able to produce weekly email newsletters, and most practices are not able to, that's why they rely on us to make it super easy for them. Can you do it yourself? Yeah, but it's super hard. So we make it easy. We automate that entire process. But the first thing you need to start with is consider a quarterly reactivation campaign. This is going out every 90 to 120 days to your entire list, to generate interest, to stimulate reactivations, to stay engaged with those people who already know, trust, and like you. They probably have been into your practice if they're on your email list. And I'm going to say it's our responsibility, Doc. It's your responsibility to consistently communicate with those individuals, to let people know who you are and what you do so that they can make the best choice for their healthcare. Jason, this is a topic that we could probably do a 2 or 3 hour masterclass on. The most important thing I want docs out there to realize is email is a supremely powerful tool that they are by and large underutilizing, and a great place to start is a quarterly reactivation campaign. What do you think?
I think you're right on track, and I hope chiropractors are understanding the value of this. You know, we write in our upcoming book, The Payday Practice, a new model that most chiropractors sort of are ignoring, but when they hear, go, wait a minute, that actually makes a ton of sense. And that model is that as so many chiropractors are, forgive me for being blunt, desperate for new patients every single month. How do I know that? Because whenever we make recommendations on things you should be doing, most of you respond with, is that going to get me more new patients? Because I'm really stressed, I'm low staff, and I need new patients. So if it's not going to get me new patients, I don't really have the capacity to get it done right now. Well, one of the models we want to remind all of you about is that in the search for new patients, we have created a model of 5 types of new patients. And wouldn't you know it, but the number one best type of new patient you could be attracting is keeping your current patient. Now, that sounds ridiculously obvious, but yet it's so obvious most people don't see it because it's right in front of your face. That in the concept of having a bucket that you pour new patients into, if the hole at the bottom of your bucket is the same size or almost the same size as the hole at the top of your bucket, then you will need to always be filling that bucket up with more because it doesn't stick around. That would obviously be crazy to think that the goal is to fill a bucket knowing that the hole on the bottom is so big. You'd go, well, that's ridiculous. Why would I keep putting forth the effort to get new water into the bucket when it's just leaking out the bottom? And that would be ridiculous. And yet, that is how many chiropractors approach their new patient onboarding and retention philosophy. And so what we're trying to say here really simply is, hey, you know what's a really good idea? Why don't we make that hole on the bottom bucket as small as possible so that the new patients you pour into your practice oftentimes stick around? And it's the exception that doesn't stay or that leaks out of the bottom of the bucket, not the rule and not consistently the way it is. This is one of those power tactics. When those people join the Smart Chiropractor and they're like, what's the fastest way for me to start seeing results and generate an ROI that will more than cover their cost/investment in this program? This is the answer. You've got oftentimes a medium to large amount of people that have been in to see you, assuming you haven't started practice in the last, few minutes. You've got people that have been there, that you've connected with, that you've worked with, that have appreciated you, that just didn't know, or for whatever reasons, life got in the way, and they got out of the habit of staying with you, or they didn't stay with you long enough to learn about why that habit is a good habit. And that's what email allows you to do, is to teach and invite consistently. I know you're probably tired of us hearing us say that, but it's repetition to drive it into your psychology, that by teaching people about how their body works on a regular basis, week after week after week, not just when they say, I'm not coming back because my doctor said I don't need to, or some other ridiculous excuse, but proactively teaching people about their bodies so that they learn how to take care of themselves. And when they learn how to take care of themselves, one of the obvious conclusions they will come to is that making it a positive habit to see you on a consistent basis is the best investment they can make in themselves. Now, that's not intuitive for most people. They go, well, why would I keep going to the doctor? They're either going to fix me and I'll leave, or they're not going to fix me and I'll leave. It is up to you to teach them about why staying consistent, just like exercise, just like watching what you eat, just like showering, just like sleep, just like having a positive attitude, are daily habits that work to their benefit, and momentum matters. Staying clear, having a nerve system that has less and less pressure every day, managing their stress on a regular basis, and whatever conversation that's going on, car accidents, sports, or any of our monthly topics, are different ways or vehicles for you to be able to share with people what they need to know about taking care of themselves. Quarterly email reactivation campaign is a power tool. Hopefully, more and more of you are using. Again, Jeff said it. If you're looking for the easy way to get it done, then let us do it for you. We've got the technology. We've written it. It's time tested. It's effective. It works, and it will generate more revenue than it costs you to invest in it. And that's how it works. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, if you're a lone ranger, go for it. That's what you need to know to get results moving forward.
Quarterly reactivation campaigns need to be on your calendar. And if you need help with that, head over to thesmartchiropractor.com. Again, that's thesmartchiropractor.com. And I'd be remiss, I shouldn't say if you need help with it. I'd say if you want to make your life a heck of a lot easier and have us automate those processes for you, which is the best way to do it. If you want to get the best results, head over to thesmartchiropractor.com. Jason, it is time to head into our business principle segment on today's Smart Chiropractor Show. Here we go. Welcome to the Business Principle segment on today's Smart Chiropractor show. Today we're going to ask the question, why should you offer your patients the highest quality, everybody, every day supplements? That is a mouthful. I barely got through it, Jason, but it's an important topic that docs out there need to consider. We have a bunch of great stats that I am going to ask you to highlight as we talk about why docs should consider offering high quality supplements everybody, every day to their patients right now in their practice.
Well, I'll start off by saying that this segment is sponsored by the Payday Practice. That is a brand new book, webinar, and training that Jeff and I are going to be launching in the next few weeks. It has been years in the making, and it has taken years because we want to get it right. When we say get it right, what we mean is we want to not only teach you something, but we want to give you the easiest vehicles in order to implement what we're teaching. And what we're teaching is that the way to eliminate your monthly financial stress forever is to learn about how to build what we call a payday practice. What's a payday practice? A payday practice is a practice that transforms the first day of every single month. You know that dreaded first of the month emotion, where most of us, it's the first of the month, you go, oh, wow, back to zero in collections again. At the same time, rent is due, mortgage is due, payroll is due, insurances are due, and all the rest of the bills that you get each and every month just start pouring back in. Interestingly enough, on the same day that we go back to zero in collections. Now, that is a formula for stress, specifically financial stress. And that is what we're looking to beat. That's what we're looking for you to overcome. That is the prelude or the context to exactly Jeff's question here today. Why should you offer your patients the highest quality, everybody, everyday supplements? So we're going to take something that is so obvious for everyone and look at it from a completely different 180-degree perspective than you are probably used to. There's nothing new about offering supplements to your patients. Nothing new. In fact, many of you probably go, I don't want to do that. I'm a chiropractor. Or I do that. If people have this condition, I recommend those things. If they have another condition, I recommend the other thing. But here's the unique perspective that we're trying to drive home. In the context of generating monthly recurring revenue that covers your monthly recurring expenses so that the first of the month turns from, oh man, back to zero again, and turns into Yahoo, it's payday, meaning you can generate enough monthly recurring revenue on the first day of every month to cover all of your monthly expenses. That's your goal. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day. I'm saying that's your aspiration. That is what you should be shooting for, is for the first of the month to be payday. Great. We've covered all of our monthly recurring expenses today because we've built a system. We've built a program. We have designed a strategy that allows for our practice to generate as much revenue as necessary every first day of the month to cover all of our monthly recurring expenses. And you all have monthly recurring expenses. That's the point. Okay. How do you do that? Well, here's our unique perspective. We've done a little bit of research and we have calculated that over 50%, write it down, over 50% of the people that come into your practice are already buying certain, what we refer to as everybody, everyday supplements. Think about one-a-day vitamins, right? What a brilliant name. How many do you take? One. How often do you take them? Every day, okay? That is the sweet spot. What we're saying is that over 50% of the people that come into your practice every single month are already buying some sort of multivitamin, some sort of supplement they take every day to proactively improve their health. So my question for you is, if all of your clients are already spending money on this product, why aren't they buying it from you? Do you think it's okay for them to just be spending money at whatever big box or online retailer that has done the best quote marketing, which oftentimes mean it's the cheapest value or it's the most popularly advertised brand, right? Most people don't buy their supplements because it's the one their doctor recommends most. It's the one that's either cheapest, has the nicest label. Somebody at whatever store said, hey, here's a good one. It worked for me. Do you think all of those excuses or reasons or choices and why they purchase those supplements are better choices than buying the one that's their chiropractor's favorite, most recommended, everybody, everyday supplement? And why is it not a good idea for you to be able to reduce, even eliminate your monthly financial stress by actually serving your people. Those people, when they buy those supplements, in most cases, got to remember to buy it every month. Oh, yeah, got to remember to put on my list, got to buy another bottle of supplements, ran out again. Or if they're smart, they're probably subscribing and saving on Amazon. Why? For the convenience of making sure that they receive it every month. Just like going to the gym isn't a day-to-day decision, right? You join the gym because you want an outcome. If you did it the opposite, if you didn't join a gym, but you had to pay every time you decided to go, you probably wouldn't go as much. You make one decision to say, I want to get in shape. I'm going to join the gym. And now the psychology is I better go often to get my money's worth. Well, when it comes to supplements, it should work the same way. They should go, yes, I want to make sure that I'm taking the right nutrients each and every day. Not every month should I buy another bottle. And when they say yes that one time, they should be saying yes to you. Why? Because you are their trusted health advisor. You should be seen as their trusted health advisor. In fact, most of you probably get this question on a regular basis. You just don't have the systems to make it easy to say, here's my favorite supplement. Would you like to pick it up each and every month when you come in for your visits? Or would you like me to conveniently have it drop shipped to your home so you always make sure you get my favorite supplement drop shipped directly to your home for your convenience? That is the highest way to serve them, and it is the easiest way to start reducing your monthly financial stress. Jeff, I know there were a few data points. I know I hit one of the big ones. I'm not sure what else I missed. Let me kick it back to you for anything I missed out on there.
You nailed it, Jason. 50 to 70% of the people coming into your practice each and every day, Doc, are purchasing supplements. Why? Well, take a look at what's going on. Do you think that everybody in your practice is eating the highest quality nutrition all day, every day? Of course not. And we know that nutrition is one of those 3 pillars that really determines our health. And 60% of chronic disease is directly correlative and related to the lifestyle factors that we have each and every day. And yes, some of that ties into movement and exercise, but a significant portion of that ties into diet. As I once heard, you can't outwork your mouth, right? So no matter how much you're working out and moving, what you're putting in each day from a nutritional standpoint really matters. We inherently know that. And I'll relate it back to the example that I brought up a few times, and I had it with supplements, I had it with traction devices, you just about name it. I think everybody out there will be able to resonate. Patient comes in, asks me what my favorite supplement is, what I take, whatever it might be, however they ask that specific question. I spend 10 minutes poorly describing something for them to try to go purchase it. A week later, they come back and show me that they purchased the wrong item, right? And I've spent my time, effort, and energy poorly describing something. They went out and purchased the wrong thing. It's just a cluster, and it's unnecessary in today's day and age. That's where we're going with the Payday Practice, is really empowering docs with a variety of different choices, whether it's supplements or whether they want to monetize and create recurring revenue in other ways. Number one, it's best for your patients to have easy answers to their questions about health. That's why they're coming to you, is so that you provide those answers for them. And the easier you can make it, the better off they'll be. Well, what's the side effect of that? Not a negative one. The positive side effect is that you can generate recurring revenue by offering those items that resonate with you in your practice, that resonate with those ideal patients coming into your practice, and making it super easy for them. Now, in the world of supplements and e-commerce, we've taken the bull by the horns and really created that entire program that we kind of call the Payday Practice, and then the technology and software behind that in our Smart Care store system that enable you to have no inventory, to have drop shipping. And yeah, if you want to wholesale items and have them in your practice, specifically our Basis Health supplement line, you can do that. You'll get better margins than just about anybody out there, and it makes it so easy for you. As a matter of fact, our initial store owners, I guess you could say, right now are in a 30-day challenge, really ramping up their recurring revenue, using wellness surveys, asking simple questions, providing simple answers. There's no better way, in my opinion, to build a nice practice, to serve your patients at a high level, and to generate some nice, diverse revenue streams in the process. So, Jason, that's what I have to say about all of that. We've had a fantastic show. Big takeaways for you on today's show. What do you think?
You know, I hope more and more chiropractors are sort of getting into this conversation. Our goal is to help you become a smarter chiropractor. What does that mean? That means that, the best way to learn is to teach. So if you want to become smarter, become a better teacher. It just sort of gives you that incentive to learn more. The smarter you are, the more you teach, the more people are going to appreciate you and the value you offer. That's number one. Number two, well, most chiropractors, unfortunately, are in a state of what I refer to as not being able to afford to tell the truth. What does that mean? That means that most chiropractors I talk to, and I've talked to thousands over the decades I've been doing this, most chiropractors sound something like this. I really wish people understood what chiropractic really is, but here's what I do to market my practice to get new people in the door. And typically the message that I have to give people to get them in the door is not always aligned with what it is that I wish people really knew about what chiropractic is and what I really do. Now, that's a problem. If the message you put out on a consistent basis is different than the message you wish people really knew about what you do, that creates a gap. That creates a real interesting phenomenon, and collectively, it explains perfectly why people don't understand what it is we really do. Now, why do you do that? Well, you do that because you've been convinced that you've got to get them in order to teach them what you really do. Now, that used to be true. But in today's world, with Google and Facebook and all the other email and all the other different ways to communicate with people automatically, and with the fact that most people are addicted to scrolling on their phones or their screens every day, all day anyway, there seems to be an easy way and an easy solution to resolve and fix all of that once and for all. These communication tools should be considered our profession's best friend. We should love Facebook, love email, love Instagram, love these things, because there's never been an easier, cheaper way to get your message in people's face. So if you start putting all of that together and you start thinking about it differently, just like the way you want people to think differently about health, we're asking you to think differently about communication. And marketing is not just advertising. Marketing is communicating your message to people in a way that gets them to go, wait a minute, I never thought of it that way. That sounds interesting. I want to learn more about what you're talking about for my best interest. And when you do that, when you build an audience, and then when you serve your audience by helping make it easy for them to get well, which is what they're coming to you for, not just the adjustment, but the advice, the mindset, the recommendations, and the adjustments. When you put all that together, you find your life becomes much easier, that you finally attract the rewards and eliminate the financial stress that most chiropractors continue to suffer from. And I don't care how big or small your practice is, as income rises, expenses rise. As income rises, our cost of living rises, and most chiropractors continue in that level of chronic financial stress. Well, we are teaching you how to eliminate that forever with the new payday practice concept. By generating monthly recurring revenue that meets your monthly recurring expenses, every month can be even on the first day of the month, which means you've got all month long to be able to teach people what you really do, to not have to be attached to whether they stay or go because you need the money, but you can tell the truth. And those people that stay will stay because they get what you're talking about. So that's what I mean by you can afford to tell the truth. You can share what you want to share, the way you want to share it, with the people you want to share it with. And you don't have to work with the clients or the payers that you don't want to work with, that usually cause you that extra level of stress, that make you consider other career options, that make you wonder, why do I have to keep doing this? That make you continually search for some other form of revenue so that you don't have to be dependent on working with the people or payers that just drive you crazy. There is a solution. There is an answer. We're going to guide you through it. Hopefully it's making sense to all of you, and hopefully you keep tuning in every Tuesday to take yet another step in the right direction to become smarter, make your life easier, and most importantly, serve the people in your community to your highest level.
That is well said, Jason. It's been a great show, and I'm going to encourage every doc listening and watching, be sure to tune in each Tuesday. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on social, be sure to enable those notifications. We touched on habits. We had John Rosa talk about the opioid crisis. We talked about car accidents, delayed onset of pain. Brian Ghessi at Ghessi Chiropractic. We highlighted his great work on Facebook with the Smart Chiropractor, why getting involved matters with Dr. Lisa Thomson from Cal Chiro. We talked about email reactivation strategies. We finished up with business principles. Jason, it has been a fantastic show. Thanks for being an awesome co-host. And docs, keep tuning in each and every Tuesday. And if you'd like to implement many of the tactics, strategies, and mindset tips that we've offered today, head over to thesmartchiropractor.com. Learn more, get started, keep your eyes out for the payday practice. It's coming soon. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.